Alright guys, really don't want to be showing this, but you'll see. So unfortunately, guys, Ballpython Reptiles here. I'm really excited to make this video. I'm going to be talking about my favorite ball python, and that's a scaleless ball python. A lot of you may know that is my favorite. I spoke about it plenty of times, showed it off plenty of times. When I would see pictures online, I would take those photos and share them on my social medias. Just a huge fan of the scaleless ball python. But I want to talk about my story and hatred and love for the scaleless ball python, and I have a few things written down, so I'm gonna go over it. So when I first seen the scaleless ball python was from, of course, Brian Barczyk from BHB. But funny story is, he's not the first person to produce a scaleless ball python. There was actually Eugene Bissett who accidentally produced one but couldn't reproduce it, so it was pretty much just a fluke type animal. That animal shortly died and didn't really go anywhere with the project, even though he bred those snakes that produced a scaleless ball python over and over, and successfully wasn't able to recreate it. But Brian was the first person to take co-dominant mutations, actual genes that could actually make a scaleless ball python. And the moment he made that scaleless ball python, I fell in love with it. It was the only thing I wanted. I know it was the absolute coolest thing in the world. I still think it is. I'm still stoked that I got one. I'm very, very excited. But I would never be able to own one. I know it'd be impossible. I'm kind of glad that the prices went down a bit. But I want to hop into a little bit of a hatred video of why I feel about the scaleless ball python. So I always wanted to hold one. I just wanted to hold one. I didn't know anyone had them. They were really hot, rare snake at the time. So I went to Tinley Park, and I was pretty much just going there just to have an opportunity to hold a scaleless ball python. Unfortunately, everyone I asked wouldn't let me hold one. I had friends that would bring me to tables that they knew people who had scaleless ball pythons, and pretty much asked their friend that had the snake and asked if I could hold it, and right in front of their face and my face, broke my little heart and said I couldn't hold one. And that's pretty much the way that whole weekend went. So I was really devastated. But thankfully, I have a good friend, Jeremy, that works over at Nerd, and that's the time that Kevin McCurley produced the first super microscaleless or microscale lemon blast. So that the opportunity to go over there and potentially hold it was an opportunity that I was not going to let not happen. So went all the way from New York at the time to New England just for a ball python to hold one. Opportunity to possibly hold one. Thankfully, Jeremy and Kevin are really close, and they gave me an opportunity. I was able to hold one. It was such a great moment. Felt like nothing I could imagine. You know, even when I went to Tinley, I was asking people, just tell me what it feels like. I want to know what it feels like. I was so obsessed with it. And a lot of people said it felt like velvet, felt like rose petals, soft marshmallows. And again, it's still a very strange feeling to actually explain. Doesn't feel like something like skin, doesn't feel like human parts. It just feels different, but such a cool feeling and just a unique animal. So that was my opportunity of holding a scaleless ball python. Then I knew at that point I needed one. I needed to produce one. I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford one, so I needed to produce one. So I offered a 1.2 pastel head scaleless babies. Finally was able to get the 1.2 in. This is going to be our first year hopefully producing them. They are breeding, so I'm really happy with that. Things are looking really well. But I couldn't wait. I told myself I want to produce it. I don't want to buy one. I want to produce it. I want to produce it. I love them so much, I had to buy one. And I'm really excited. I'm really happy to have it. So one of my coolest snakes in the collection. The reason why I wanted it was pretty much to show off, honestly, and honestly just own it. But the crazy thing is, now going back and thinking about it, from the moment that Brian produced that first scaleless ball python, and when I went to Tinley to try to hold one, and then when I went to Kevin's to finally hold one, the realistic aspect of it, I never held a scaleless ball python until I got one. In some way, if you really think about it, scaleless head and scaleless head are different than micro scales, and it's true, they are different. I was that nerd, seen them, they feel different, they look different. It's definitely two different lines. So in reality, I was holding a super micro scale, and until I bought my own, actually held my first ever scaleless ball python. So some people chase their dreams and chase their projects to produce something. I chased it years just to hold something, but I'm really excited to have the opportunity to hold one, own one. I love the animal. I see no flaws with it. Again, we had a little bit of shedding issues. We are in a basement. I do have a dehumidifier in here because it's a basement, so I need it down here for my house. I know the snakes can have rough sheds a little bit, but they're on Reptile chip. The scaleless ball python is on paper towel. I don't want to put it on anything yet. I'm really happy the way it is on what it's on. It's on paper towels. Eating, shedding. We had so far 2 bad sheds that didn't end up having the animal perish or anything. Everything worked out great. Just a little bit of assistance. Unlike on some other snakes that you need of assistance, I wouldn't recommend seeing a scaleless ball python in shedding and just letting it, you know, take its course and see what happens in a week or so. I would like to get that bad shed at least off in the first 24 hours. That's just me. But they're eating great. Only wants to eat live, not frozen, so, you know, and she won't let me, every time I open the tub and try to like keep an eye on her, she won't eat. I need to keep that tub closed for her to eat. And so far so good. No rodent marks, no bites or scratches. I think she knows what she's doing. I'm really excited with and happy with her. Again, I would love to produce more scaleless ball pythons. I'm definitely gonna always have scaleless ball pythons in the collection. There is some questions about them that honestly I'm not the person to really ask. I'm just so fascinated with the project. I feel like it has potential to be something special. I think it still is special. I don't think, you know, some people shy away from it because they haven't seen females on eggs. And guys, the reason why, my opinion, again, some people say that they just don't get old enough, they perish. They're not strong enough, females, or if they are on eggs, they don't make it. Again, there's no proof that I've seen or heard yet. This is what rumors are. But my biggest facts that I can tell you guys, they constantly shed. I literally had my scaleless ball python shed 3 times in 1 month, and that's no BS. Again, the reason why that happened was it had a shed, then it had one more shed the following week without eating, and it had a bad shed. So the second shed was a bad shed, and I left it alone. I'm like, I'm not gonna bother it, which was, I don't think it was the right thing. I should have assisted it, but a lot of people said just leave it, put on some bounty. And it pretty much just had some dry shed on it, which kind of made it look a little funky and kind of like was really hard. If I was gonna peel it, it would have probably bled or really damaged the lack of scales. So I left it, and then it went right back in the shed to pretty much just regenerate and refix itself. And once it did that, shedded with no problem and just worked out great. So I think they are completely hardy animals, look great, feel great, and just overall really, really excited about the scaleless ball python project. So if you guys are asking yourself, should you guys get into it? If you guys don't want to buy the visual, that's fine. At least try to produce some of your own, get some heads, or get some scaleless heads, and definitely produce it. I think they're great animals, and I think you guys are gonna have no problem reselling them or just holding them back because they're so cool. So you guys are looking for the Demonic Reptiles. Have a good one. Bye. Alright guys, really don't want to be showing this, but you'll see. So unfortunately, it's still alive. Oh wow, look at that. Didn't die. Scaleless ball pythons, very fragile. So I've been told.